Hey, what is up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you are all doing well. I have my mic right next to my mouth because I think the audio for the past few videos haven't been as good, so I do apologize about that. But for today's video, we are going to be comparing Topstep versus Apex Trader Funding. This was a requested video from my YouTube subscribers, so thank you so much for your suggestion of what you would like to see. As a friendly reminder, please do your own research about the companies that you are thinking to purchase an account from, because it's always important to know what you're getting yourself into and all of their policies and the backbone of the company. Now, all of this information, you are able to find it on their website and also just in general social media that of what has been posted. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it. This is what you could expect from the video, and in the description below you can look at the timestamp of each section should you want some specifics from certain segments. Now at the end of each segment I will be providing my honest opinion of the pros and cons for each company, and the reason why I'm doing that is because a subscriber was requesting that, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So just note that some of the information I'm going to say is going to be from my own personal experience and opinion. Starting off with the company background, first and foremost, I just want to say that it's a little hard to give pros and cons about backgrounds because obviously this is the upbringing of the companies. Furthermore, they are really different. One has been around for over 11 years, another's only been around 2, almost 3 years. So it's quite difficult to really compare the history and the timeline and what they've accomplished because they're so drastically different. So I do think it's more fair in the future to make an evaluation of both companies at that time. But right now, I'm not going to be making any pros and cons about the companies based on what we have so far. So for Topstep, they were established in 2012. The name Topstep was founded by Michael Patak, and it was his aspiration to reach the top step of the trading pit. The top step of the trading pit would represent the biggest, most best, and brightest, and most liquid traders of the floor. And Michael did, in fact, reach the top step of the trading pit with his own personal capital, showing that he was one of the best, biggest, and brightest traders on the floor. He did want to provide traders the ability to learn the right skills to become the best traders possible and to have capital at an affordable price to start trading, and that is why we have the launch of Topstep. Now with Apex, they were established in 2021. The founder, Daryl Martin, was a prop firm trader where he amassed $300,000 payout from one funding company before he realized that he wanted to create his own prop firm company and not limit the amount of payouts that a trader can have. He did originally have his website, Apex Investing, created back in 2008 that was helping traders with strategies and other resources prior to the launch of Apex, and I believe that website is still active to this day. Now this is more of an overview of the accounts offered, and the next few slides is going to be the actual rules. So first, going over the overview, you can see there's a very big gap between Topstep and Apex. Topstep has 3 current accounts you can choose from. Apex has 8 accounts you can choose from, but there is a little bit more information as we dive deeper. I'm not going to go into each account specifically and like the objectives and the rules for them, but I am just going to give you the pricing and some really key differences between the two. So for the pricing wise, you can see for Topstep, the original pricing without any discounts is going to be the ones outside of the parentheses. In the parentheses is the discount right now that is 60 to 70% off per account. Now with Topstep and their discount, there is no expiration date, which means this is the current price for the foreseeable future until they make the announcement they're going to change the pricing. Because there is no expiration, I felt comfortable to put it on the board here for everyone to see, because it's going to stay like this for however long it's going to stay for. Now the reset pricing is going to be the same as the pricing in the parentheses. So for example, the 50K reset price is $49, which is the same amount as the combine pricing for the 50K, so on and so forth. For Apex Trader Funding, the pricing you see is going to be the Rhythmic accounts. And with this, there is a current 90% sale, but it is expiring on November 7th. So that's why I didn't feel comfortable to post it on the board, just because if someone in the future does come across this video, I don't want to mislead them in the wrong information. So this is the Rhythmic pricing without the 90% sale. With Tradevate accounts of Apex, it is $20 more. So for example, the 25K Tradevate account will be $167. The 50K Tradevate account is $187. And then you can add 20 for the rest of them to figure out those balances. And then for the resets, it's $85 flat for Rhythmic and $105 for Tradevate, and that's for any account size. Now looking at the differences of the position size, if we start off with Topstep, Topstep's max cons for the 50K is 5, and for the minis and micros, there's no difference. So if you are a micro trader, if you wanted to get the 50K, the max amount of micro contracts you can use is 5, and then 10, and then 15. So there's no difference at all. With Apex, there is a difference between micros and minis. It's going to be micros are 10 times the amount of one mini. So for example, the 25K Apex account has 4 mini contracts at maximum. And if you want the micros, you just do times 10. So it would be 40 micros times 10 for the 50K is 100 micros. And you just grab this number, do times 10. That's what the micros would be. So there's a very key difference there. The next key difference is going to be the amount of time it takes to get funded. So with Topstep, you can pass in a minimum of 2 trading days. You can take longer if you want. There's no like required trading amount, except that there's a minimum amount of 2. And then once you have obviously the profit target in those 2 days, respecting the objective of the consistency rule, then you could get funded. With Apex, you're able to pass in a minimum of 7 days. Again, there's not like a maximum amount of time required, but there's a minimum, which is 7. And because there's 7, I apologize about that. Because there's 7, then of course you have to have all 7 before you can get moved on into the next one. Now, oops, I apologize about that. Looking at the pros and cons from just based on the overview of the accounts offered, we're going to look at Topstep first. The obvious pro is going to be the minimum trading days of 2 days needed to get funded. That is super duper fast, especially in the futures prop firm space. A lot of other companies offer anywhere from 5, 10, even 15 trading days required to get funded. So this is really, really quick. The second thing is going to be the pricing of $49.99 and $149. I think that's a really great deal, especially if you consider if you do get to the funded level, you do get to your first payout, then you do get a refund on your first payout bonus on that specific account. So essentially you get refunded this amount for one of the months, and then obviously you pay the one-time activation fee, which we'll talk about later in the video. The only con that it can truly see with Topstep is going to have to be the position size. And this is only for the sake of the micro traders. I'm not a micro trader, so it doesn't really apply to me. But if I were a micro trader, and for all those micro traders out there, because there is no difference between minis and micros at this time, you know, that can be kind of something that turns some of the traders away. Now, obviously, it does help a lot with risk management. It does help you with keeping your account for longer, given you only have 5 micros you can trade with, or 10 or 15. So there is some positives you can look at from both sides of the spectrum. But just as an overall con for micro traders, from what I've heard on the internet, is that they do want to have a difference between the two. And I do know that Topstep is in the works right now to try to make that happen. So, you know, we don't have an announcement or an ETA or a timeline as to when that's going to be, but definitely keep your eyes peeled as to when they release the difference between micros and minis. The second kind of, not the biggest con, but more so like something I think that like feedback that they can take and make the adjustment to is more of the reset pricing. And that's more catered towards the 150K. I think the pricing of 99 is a pretty fair price across the board for a 100K and even a 50K account. Even $49 reset is really cheap for 50K, but I think 149 is a little bit on the higher end. So if they're able to have even a flat rate of 99 for all the accounts, I think that'd be really great. Or even 99 for the 100, 99 for the 150K, and even keeping 49 for the 50K would be really, really cool. But that's the only second like feedback I can give. As far as Apex goes, starting off with the pros first, it's definitely that they have 8 accounts available. There's a gap of 5 different accounts between Topstep and Apex. So for those that want to kind of taste the platter, if you will, 8 accounts gives you a lot of different accounts you can choose from to, you know, trial with. And so that definitely gives you a lot more options. And I think as traders, it's always nice to have options. In my personal trading experience, I do prefer only the 50 or 150K account. So having a lot of options doesn't really matter, but I think just in general, the idea of having more accounts available is really cool. The second positive that I could see with the Apex is going to be the micros and minis. So there is a difference. So for all my micro traders that are sharing their feedback that they want to have that difference, it's going to be 10 micros for every 1 mini. Now for the cons of Apex, I would have to safely say, one, that there's a difference between Tradevate and Rhythmic pricing. As a Tradevate user, it does, you know, not make the biggest difference of $20, but over time, if you buy multiple accounts and all that good stuff, then obviously that money does add up. So having the pricing be the same would be a lot more beneficial and helpful for traders in general. I think the second con is definitely going to be that they have the trailing option, which we're going to cover in just a moment here. But just trailing, I think, is not the best business practice for a trader's sake. I think for a business sake, it makes a lot of sense. But again, for a trader's sake, the business model of using end of day is a lot more better for the sake of the trader. And then lastly, the other con is going to be the reset pricing. I think the 85 flat fee and the 105 flat fee for the price of the 25K is a little pricey. I think it's a little up there. It's similar to like this 149 to the 150K. If they can have a lower pricing for the 25K, I think that'd be really cool. But again, that's more of like a feedback, not really a real con. So yeah, that's going to be everything from pros and cons for the accounts offered and the overview. And now we're going to dive into the specific account rules for each company. So this is the part where it gets a little tasty. Starting off with Topstep. So only with the combine, not with the XFA, not with the live, only with the combine, there is a 50% consistency rule. The best day should not be more than 50% of the profit target. And for this account rules section, the payout rules section, I would highly advise you to go over to the help center of each company and read up on it so you can understand it best. But I'm just going to do a quick overview of this too and then go right into my pros and cons. So for the combine only, the 50% consistency rule, I don't think it's a rule that's really going to turn people away. I don't think it's the craziest thing. In fact, the 50% is the highest consistency percentage in the futures prop firm space from what I've seen. And because it's most of the companies are like 30 to 40%, Topstep is 50, and it's only on the evaluation. Now, I think it's much better to have the consistency rule in the evaluation portion rather than the funded or PA account. And that's my personal preference. The reason why I say that is because if you look at your PA or funded account, you're having the ability to take payouts, right? That's already on the line. You don't want to have extra rules placed on top of you to prevent you from taking a payout, right? Because the goal is to be able to withdraw money from the markets, from the companies. And if there's another rule that's stacked on top of your funded account that can possibly prevent you from taking a withdrawal, it's not the funnest thing to deal with, right? Especially if you are a trader that makes a lot of money some days and then other days you aren't able to make just as much. So it's really important, I think, to consider that when you are trading with companies. And then if you want more information about the consistency rule and how to calculate it, it is going to be on Topstep's Help Center. For the daily loss limit and the max loss limit, it is going to be on all of the accounts. So for daily loss, when you do breach it, it will temporarily prevent you from further trading your account until the next trading session. For the max loss, if you breach it, it will close your account. That means you've blown it. And this is calculated at the end of the trading day. The max loss limit does stop moving once you reach the initial starting balance. And here's a little example, if you will, from the Help Center page. But they also have a video about the max loss limit, how to really break it down. And they best explain it in that video, so I would recommend to watch that too. For Apex, they don't have a daily loss and they don't have a consistency rule in the evaluation, but they do have it in the funded. Whoops, I moved my mic again. But they do have a trailing drawdown. So for trailing drawdown, if you breach it, it will close your account. And this is calculated intraday following your highest unrealized gains. The drawdown liquidation threshold is based on your highest unrealized balance. So using this example on the right here, let's say that you have a $50,000 account. Your drawdown threshold is 47.5K, and that is because 2.5K is your drawdown for a 50K account. You make $500 and close the trade. Your new account balance is $50,500 and your drawdown threshold is $48,000. You find that by doing $2,500 below 50.5K. Now let's say the next trade you enter, you get the account balance up to $52,000, but you don't close the trade yet. You close the trade when you have a balance of $51,000. Now keep in mind, because it's trailing your unrealized gains, that means the system is going to register, hey, at one point you were at $52,000. So that is when I'm going to subtract the $2,500 from that amount. So $52,000 minus $2,500, you get a new drawdown threshold of $49.5K. This shows that you have less $1,000 of drawdown room. That means you only have $1,500 of drawdown rather than the full 25, because the system took the unrealized gains at 52,000 rather than at 51,000. This is super duper huge because that's the prime difference between end of day and trailing, and something to consider when you are trading. The trailing drawdown does stop once you reach the initial starting balance plus $100. Now, tapping into the pros and cons, we're going to start with Apex first because it's already on the screen. The biggest pro is obviously that the trailing would stop once you reach the initial plus $100. That's obvious. And in my personal trading experience, the trailing drawdown actually helped me with securing gains, forcing me to secure gains because of the fact that the system would recognize the unrealized balance at 52 rather than the 51. So in my personal experience, it helped me. But I think overall, like when I'm talking about for the sake of the trader, what I was even mentioning earlier and how I even said that it's better using the end of day, I do think this is the major con. Business practice wise, the trailing does work, not really for the sake of the trader. Yes, it does stop. I understand that. But it's more so that for traders that, let's say, they haven't even reached the initial starting balance, but they have a trade that is a runner and moving really, really good. And yes, they're moving their stop up as they're going. But if it ever does return and reverse back to hit that stop loss or the break even or whatever, all the profits that they made along the way would go against them. And that definitely feeds into how much drawdown you have left, which in turn means you're closer to losing your account should you, lose all of your drawdown. So yeah, that would be the biggest con for me. Now going over to Topstep, I do believe that the daily loss limit is a pro. And again, this is my preference, my honest opinion. I think the daily loss limit is a pro because it doesn't mean you've lost the account. It just means that you're going to be stopped from trading the rest of that trading session so that you can walk away, so that you can still have that account for the next day to either get yourself out of that, drawdown or be able to make some money the next day where you're a little bit more calm and level-headed. And this forces you to literally have risk management. This forces you to have a stop loss. I know in my experience, I've been able to get a funded account for one day and then I lose it the same day. And if I had a daily loss limit in place, it would prevent me from losing that express funded account or that funded account the same day. And it would allow me to trade the next day to try to get myself out of drawdown when I was at a more level-headed and clear mind. So there is definitely some pros to having a daily loss limit. For the end of day, the max loss, that is definitely a pro. I mean, obviously calculating at the end of day, not following your unrealized gains, that's always going to be a good thing for traders no matter what anyone says. It definitely is the best thing because like I said, having that runner be able to run, if it ever comes back down your stop loss to your break even, it doesn't go against you. It just means you got stopped out of that trade and all the extra profit, the unrealized profit, it doesn't go against you. And that's a really good thing. And obviously another pro is that the MLL does stop moving once you reach the initial starting balance, same thing as Apex. For the consistency rule, because my preference is obviously, like I said earlier, to have it in the evaluation, if there had to be a consistency rule, if there had to be one, then I think it's a pro to have it at 50% and to have it in the evaluation rather than the funded. I would not want to have it on my funded account because I don't want there to be another rule on top of me getting a payout or to stop me or deny me from getting a payout. In a way, you could also say it's a con because, having it on your combine, which means that you can't meet the profit target the very first day. But if we think about the overall perspective here, you're still able to get funded in 2 trading days. So that's why it's hard to say that there's really a con with the consistency rule. Everyone, to each their own, but that's just my personal opinion for pros and cons for this. Now moving on to the activation fee. For Topstep, once you pass the combine, you have up to 30 days to pay the one-time fee of $149. With Apex, once you pass their evaluation, you have up to 48 hours to pay the activation fee. And they have 2 different types of activation fees. They have the monthly and they have the lifetime. For Apex, for the Rhythmic accounts, it's $85 a month, or with Tradevate, it's $105 a month. For the lifetime fees, it's depending on the account size. The list on the right is for Rhythmic account lifetime fees, and for the Tradevate account, you just add $20 to what this number is to see what the Tradevate lifetime fee is, because remember, Tradevate is always $20 more than the Rhythmic accounts. So you can easily just do 20, and then you'll get what the lifetime fee of Tradevate is. Now for this one's pretty easy to go over pros and cons. The obvious pro for Apex, since we're still talking about Apex, the pro is that they do offer the difference between monthly and lifetime. You're not forced to pick just one. I know some people think lifetime is better because financially speaking, if you pay, let's say, $130 for the Rhythmic 25K account up front, then that is going to be a better deal if you have the account for at least 2 months. Whereas if you have the Rhythmic monthly, 85 times 2, that's $170 for 2 months if you calculate it and compare the two. But if you are someone that can't quite get to the second month, then obviously the Rhythmic monthly option is a better deal because it is going to be, what is that, like $45 cheaper than the lifetime fee. I hope that all made sense. But financially speaking, it's nice to have both different options for a trader. The con that I'll have to say is that you only have 48 hours to pay the fee. Now, I've heard that you can reach out to the customer support team to have an extension for the activation fee. I don't really know how that works. I don't know if it's a case-by-case basis, but that's just what I've seen on the internet. And I'm not sure how much time they're able to extend that to you. So again, if it is a case-by-case basis, then they'll probably tell you how far they are able to extend it for you. For Topstep, I do think a big pro is that it's up to 30 days. So you have a full month before you have to pay the activation fee. So it gives you a lot of time to be able to save up money or figure out the whole scenario to get that situated. I think the only con is that it is a one-time fee. So like having a monthly versus a lifetime, I think would be really beneficial for traders. Again, from my experience, I like the monthly because I don't know at this time if I'm able to surpass 2 or 3 months of holding a PA or a funded account for that long. Obviously, the goal is to have that. The belief is in me that I can do it. But based on my performance so far, having 1 month of a PA makes the most sense. So it would be, financially speaking, better for me in that case. So that would be the only con that I can say. For the payout policy rules, so this is going to be a lot of information to digest. So again, feel free to check out their help center for Topstep and Apex. It's just a lot of reading to do. But starting off with Topstep, to withdraw up to 50% of your account balance, whatever your profits are in the balance. So if you have $2,000, 50% is $1,000. You would need 5 winning days of $200 profit. Now keep in mind, whenever it says you need X amount of winning days, it means those winning days don't have to be in a row. They are non-consecutive, right? So you can have losses in between these 5 winning days. But that's what you need. You need 5 winning days, non-consecutive winning days of $200 profit to be able to take a payout request. To withdraw up to 100% of the account balance, so if you have $2,000 in profit, if you want to withdraw the full $2,000, you would need a total of 30 non-consecutive winning days of $200 profit. Once you reach the minimum 30 non-consecutive winning days, at that point, you're able to take a payout at any time of any amount that you like. So that's a pretty darn good, like 30 days, that's a month and a half if you look at trading days per se. So it's pretty quick. You're able to start withdrawing the full account balance. Once you do take your first payout, your balance is going to reflect $0. Whatever is left in your balance after withdrawing, that would be your max loss limit. So for example, if you have a $2,000 account balance of profits and you take your first payout of $1,000, that's 50%, then you have $1,000 left in your account. That would mean that that's your max loss limit. Your max loss limit is $1,000, even though your account balance is going to show $0. This is listed on the help center, so make sure you do read it through. For their payout rules, there's no consistency or flipping rule applied to it, so there's not extra rules placed on top of you to deny your payout. Their payouts take between 1 to 2 business days to get dispersed and subtracted from your account balance. The minimum request is $125 to request, so you have to have basically $250 in your account balance, and then you can request 50%, which is $125. The winning days, you don't have to be in a row or not, and they're not non-consecutive, or they are non-consecutive. I apologize. So that's the whole rules for Topstep's payout policy. Here is the payout methods available right now and how long you could expect for the money to come to your account after it's dispersed. So it's 1 to 2 business days, and then it takes whatever method you're going through. You add that to your 1 to 2 business days here. For Apex, there's 3 different requirements you have to have in order to actually get a payout, and then you have to wait for the money as well. So the first requirement is to have 10 active trading days. Number 2, you have to meet the safety threshold of your account size. So the safety threshold is going to be on this first top piece right here. For example, if you have a 25K account, the safety threshold is at $26,600. So that means it's $1,600 that you have to have in your account to meet requirement number 2. Number 3 is going to be the payout windows. So there is a window of the 1st to the 5th or the 15th to the 20th. Only during those windows are you able to submit a payout request. Now, for the first 3 months, there is going to be a cap on how much you're able to withdraw depending on your account size. From month 4 and on, then you're able to withdraw up to 100% of your account balance, but you still have to have the 10 active trading days. So the cap is going to be on this bottom portion right here. So let's say using the 25K account again, the maximum amount you're able to withdraw for any payout period for the first 3 months is going to be $1,500. And there is, the 1st to the 5th or the 15th to the 20th, which means there is 2 payout windows. So essentially, if you do, capitalize on your payouts, you are in a month on the 25K, the first month, 1, 2, and 3, you could take a max of $3,000 per month of the 25K. But each payout period, so the 1st to the 5th or the 15th to the 20th, is going to be $1,500 each. The minimum is $500. It's good to know that because on Topstep it's $125. On Apex, the minimum amount you can withdraw is $500. There is a 30% consistency rule with Apex. It's not a hard rule though, it's a soft rule. Basically, from what I gathered on the help center is that, let's say you have a windfall of gains of throwing out a number of $10,000 on day 1. And then from day 2 through 10, in order to meet the 10 active trading days, you just do a quick flip of the micro. If you were to do that, then obviously the 30% rule will apply to you and the 20% flipping rule. So you would not get a payout. That would be, they would deny you that payout because you just basically got lucky, possibly lucky on that day 1 trade. And you're just looking to quickly pass these trading days to get to the payout window. But then let's say that you have a consistent amount of $200 wins. And then on one of the days you might make 500 or 600. And that's because the trade that you took, you're able to explain very simply to the customer service team. If they ask you, hey, this is the reason why I got $500-600 profit compared to the 200, it's because it followed my plan and just so happened that the trade really worked out in my favor, etc., etc. So you have to be able to explain why you had such a very big windfall of gains compared to the rest of your days. So there is that. And then obviously 30%, you guys know how to do the math for that. For the 20% flipping rule, so this is basically 8 out of the 10 active trading days, you have to be following what your real trading strategy is. Those 8 trading days have to prove that you aren't just, flipping a micro just to be able to pass these trading days and get to the payout window. They have to be you actually trying. 2 out of the 10 trading days, you are able to use a micro to quickly flip to make them count as trading days to be able to get to your payout. For payout approvals, they can take anywhere between 24 hours to 14 days because given when you submit your payout request versus when you actually get the money in your account, it's anywhere between this time. Once the payout is approved, then it is deducted from your account balance. The average time it takes for your payout to be approved is 3 to 5 business days. In my experience, is between the 3 to 5. Lately, because of the whole change in the institutions and from Deal to Wise to all the bank stuff, they did kind of go above the 3 to 5. It was, I don't know, a couple days more past that, but I think they are starting to come back down and get everything back in order again. So right now it's a little hard to tell you what the really average is because of the new changes of payout methods, but either way, people are still getting paid out based on social media and what they're posting on those things, their payout proofs. So yeah, it's going to be everything when it comes to the payout policy rules. I know it was a lot to digest, so that's why I recommend to go read up on this. But we're going to start off with the pros and cons of Apex first. The first I want to cover is the pros. I think the pros is having the ability of taking a payout every 2 weeks is really, really awesome. I mean, you can't go wrong with a bi-weekly check, especially if you're used to that from corporate. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's really great instead of only once a month. I mean, there's a lot of other companies that really take a longer amount of time to get you paid out. So that's really, really cool. The second pro is going to have to be the flipping thing here. I mean, it's nice to know that the 30% consistency rule, I think that since it is a soft rule, I think that's really nice compared to other companies where they are very strict and it's a hard rule that you have to literally be at 30% or below 30% in order to qualify for it. I think it's cool that they're willing to look at your trading activity to see if in fact you don't really fall under the 30% rule, even though you made a lot of gains on one day compared to the others. Now going into the cons though, definitely the cons for me is going to have to be the consistency rule. I know that sounds kind of contradictory, but the reason why I say that is just like I mentioned earlier in the video, a consistency rule that's placed on your funded portion of your account rather than the evaluation is just another rule that you have to adhere to that can possibly prevent you or deny you from getting a payout. And I have seen people get denied their payouts. In my case, I'm very thankful that I was not denied, and that's why I'm not complaining too much. But for the sake of all traders, because that's kind of where I'm coming at from most of my pros and cons, is that just any rule placed upon you to deny your payout is just not a fun thing to deal with. The second con I'll have to say is definitely going to be the minimum balance to have, like having a safety threshold. For some people, being able to grow the account the first time to reach the profit target to, let's say the 50K is $3,000 is the profit target, and having them do it a second go around, less $400, sometimes it can be a bit intense. I mean, you already have the first 7 minimum trading days to meet 3,000. And then in order to even meet the payout window, it's 10 active trading days and making 3,000. That's $300 a day. And some people can't make $300 a day, so that's something that I wish could be maybe altered a little bit. It's not the biggest con, but definitely something to alter a little bit when it comes to the minimum balance. And that leads into the whole 10 active trading days. I think this portion kind of forces people to have to trade, feel like they have to trade. Now, obviously, no one is forced against the rule to have to make a trade to get an active trading day or to get to the minimum balance. But I think just having that as a thing can be not always in the best interest of the trader, because if you have 10 active trading days, let's say that someone is having a really off day and they know they shouldn't trade, but because they need one more active trading day in order to qualify for a payout, they're going to try to do that. And because they want to respect the 30% rule, they want to respect the 20% flipping rule, they got to trade, right? And they got to trade the best that they can. Even though they're not mentally there, they might mess it up and lose the account, so on and so forth. So I think that could be something maybe adjusted in some way. I don't know. I haven't put too much thought into what they can change the policy rules to be to make it fair for the trader and for the company, but I think that can be a possible con. But yeah, and then the last thing would have to be the approval part. So because on average it's 3 to 5 business days, this was before the transition away from the new payout methods, but because you had to wait for the payout to be approved, that is when your account balance would now reflect the removal of your payout request. Because if it's not approved, then it looks as if you have an extra, whatever your payout request money is, you have an extra of that amount in your account balance. And it might lead you to the wrong idea, like, hey, I have an extra 2,000 in my account, I'll be good. But in reality, you submitted a payout request of 2,000 and you just hadn't removed it yet. So it could definitely trip you up. I know it has definitely tripped up some traders where they put the payout in, they wait for the approval, they still trade the account so they can start qualifying for the next payout window. And then it just messes them up. They lose the account and they don't get the payout that they had submitted for. So obviously it's on the sake of the trader to be more responsible and hold accountability for themselves. But if I'm looking again from the sake of the trader's perspective for everybody on how to make it just a little bit better, that is something that I would look into. Now going into Topstep's pros and cons, I think the biggest pro is for sure no consistency, no flipping rule. That's one less rule that is placed on a trader to allow them to get their payout. So I think that's really good. I think the second pro is definitely going to be that you only need 30 winning days to already be able to withdraw the full 100% balance. That's the fastest in the industry, I think, aside from possibly my funded futures. We're not talking about MFF though. That's a completely different video in itself. But yeah, we're going to pause really quick for the siren to go by. And we're back. So I'm obviously doing this a full one take for the video because I think it's just more natural that way. But going back into the pro side, yeah, that 100% account balance, 30 winning days to be able to get it, I think that's pretty awesome. A month and a half, which is faster than Apex's since we're comparing both of them. The third pro is going to be that you only need 5 winning days of $200 profit to be able to take a payout. I think this is really cool because that does mean, in theory, you are able to take up to 4 payouts a month. So that's every week. That's on a weekly basis. You're able to take a payout. For some people, meeting $200 profit is not the biggest deal. It's very easy. They do it with their eyes closed. For other people, it could be a bit of a struggle, especially if they're trying to shoot for that weekly payout, but knowing that they don't have the experience or the skills yet to be able to take $200 on a consistent basis. But you don't have to, right? It's just the option is there. You can do 2 payouts a month if you want, or even 1 payout. but knowing that the option, or in theory you can do 4 payouts a month, is really, really cool. And then I would say the final pro is going to be that the payout takes 1 to 2 business days to get subtracted from your balance, compared to Apex, which is 3 to 5 on average. So that's obviously a lot faster by twice. So yeah, those are all the pros. I think the one simple con that I'll have to say, if we had to throw in a con or maybe some feedback, is going to be this portion right here. Once you take your first payout, your balance will show as $0. I know some people get very, very confused about this. And even at one point I was very confused too, but I spent so much time just rereading that portion of the help center and learning from other people and what they have typed to others when they ask about this, and trying to digest that information as much as possible. So I understand it better now. But I think for those that don't spend as much time to understand this concept, it could be very confusing. It could throw you off, especially if you take your first payout and then you see your balance is $0. You don't know if you actually have a max loss limit of $4,500 for the 150K, but rather you have a max loss limit of $1,000 because you took a $1,000 payout from a $2,000 balance, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that would be the only thing I wish that they can update. Maybe just keep it shown as what your balance is left from your payout. So using that same example, if you have a $2,000 balance, take a 50% payout, $1,000 goes to you, show that you have $1,000 left rather than showing $0. I think that might minimize some of the confusion. Now, going into the trader dashboard, this is probably the fastest segment we're going to go through. With Topstep, this is my practice account, something that I was just messing around with on accident the other day because I was trying to actually trade my combine. But anyways, you can see how everything looks. It's very, very aesthetically pleasing, very simple, very engaging and interactive. If you look at the top, you can see where your highest balance was, all the statistics, what the rules and objectives are to respect. You have a nice diagram or chart here that will show you what your current balance is, what your, what is this called? The daily loss limit, and then your maximum loss limit on the bottom. So if you reach your DLL, it'll cross over this little bubble. If you reach the MLL, it'll go over the crossed dotted line on the bottom. Then if you scroll down on the page, obviously this is screenshots, but if you go down on the page, you can see a little, I'm gonna call it a meter, that shows you your winning trade, the percentage, your losing trades, your R&R. So I had a 1 to 2. And then you have all this information down here too, which I wasn't able to capture. But the main part that's important to note is that on the daily journal, there's a little pen. You can click the pen, you can actually type in there. So it's genuinely a journal that you can write in. So if you had any thoughts or confusion, or you wanted to just vent your soul away about the trading session you had, you're able to type everything and it saves onto your trading report, which is really, really neat. And you are able to access your old reports for some of your combines. I'm not sure exactly how it works. I think you could reach out to the customer service team to ask for previous ones, see if they're able to pull it up for you, and all the other information that you've had, including the journals that you've written into. But yeah, that is going to be the dashboard for Topstep. It's very, very nice, and I think it's really neat that you're able to genuinely interact with it. Now with Apex, for all my Apex traders, I'm speaking from the heart on this one. It's very to the point. There's nothing exciting about Apex's dashboard at all. It literally just has a chart of how much profit you've made for each account. So yeah, it'll have a little line showing how much profit you made on one day. So let's say on the first day you made 600, the second day you made 800 profit, then on the third day you made 400 profit, so it'll come back down. That's how it looks. Then on the bottom, this is all it represents. You don't have the ability to interact or journal your trades or write any notes. You can't see any specific trade statistics or what your R&R is, or any meters or any of that cool stuff that Topstep has. It's just as simple as that. It would just show your account and the P&L that you have on the account, the amount of days you've had the account, your actual balance at that very moment that you're looking at it. And then if you're still in an evaluation, it'll show you what your target balance, your profit target is, and how far along you are in that evaluation. So yeah, it's very, very simple. So the obvious winner for this one, we're going to have to simply give it to Topstep. I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. There's no pros and cons to discuss. It's just that Topstep has a better dashboard. And then for funded trader statistics. So I gathered this from their website. If you scroll down, you can actually look to see on there this exact information. I just screenshotted it and I pasted here because I didn't want to adjust or change anything. So for Topstep, This is going to be a trader evaluation disclaimer. The candidate pass rate of a combine evaluation program was 25.51% between January to July 1st of 2023. This percentage is based on users that enter the combine and reach the funded level during the time period. The trading combine is a realistic simulation of trading under actual market conditions and is difficult to pass even for experienced traders. The trading combine is not suggested for individuals with minimal trading experience. Topstep has moved 321 traders to the live funded account between January 1st and September 1st of 2023. So this is between January to July. That's about 7 months of data they're able to gather that shows 25% of those traders did move into the XFA. And then extending that time frame from January to September, that's an extra 2 months. So that's 9 months in total. Over 300 traders are moved into the live funded account. So this is really nice to see that they're able to show how many traders move into the live funded, that they are genuinely looking at the risk management, at the performance, the consistency of traders, and that there is in fact the possibility of moving to a live market. I think having the option of moving to a live market is really important because it shows not only are the companies aligned with the CME, the regulations, everything, it needs to be a true prop firm. But it also shows that, they recognize traders and their hard work, and that these traders are in fact successful and that they do deserve to move to the next highest level, which is being a professional trader. So yeah, that is Topstep's. For Apex, their evaluation disclaimer, the customer pass rate of the evaluation program was 43.13% between January to September 1st of 2023. That's 9 months of data. Who traded at least one eval and obtained a PA performance account during this time period. The evaluation in PA is meant to be as close to a realistic simulation of trading under actual market conditions, including commissions to mimic real market conditions, and the evaluation is difficult to pass even for experienced traders. The event is not meant to train the customer to be better, but to be a challenge to pass. The evaluation is not suggested for individuals with little to no trading experience. What I do appreciate about both disclaimers is that they do note that these accounts, the combine, the evaluations, they're not suggested for people that have minimal to no trading experience. I think it's important for people to know that, especially beginners, when they scroll and look on the website, they're thinking, oh, I can easily pass this because I watched a YouTube video or two that people are passing it. Like, no, it's a lot more to it. There's rules in place, there's risk management in place, there's a lot of things in place that are meant to challenge you, right? That's the point of a challenge account, to challenge you, to see if you have what it takes to be a performance account trader or a funded trader or a live trader. So yeah, these numbers, I hope they don't throw you off, and I hope that it brings a little bit of insight about the company and their stats. It's, for me, I think it's not fair also to really say any pros and cons about the percentage, because Topstep is January to July, Apex is January to September. That's a full 2 months difference. So with that being said, it's just not fair in my opinion to compare them. I would have to say at least a pro, as I already talked about, was Topstep about their live funded account. In my last video, I talked about how I think it's important for companies to show that they are moving traders to live funded accounts because of what I just explained to you. And so having that listed here does prove that they do have live traders, and I don't think they will lie about that on their main website too. And you can also find the live traders in Discord. They're a very bright blue, like a cyan color, and you're able to talk to them about their experience with that too. And then finally, here is their current deals between Topstep and Apex. As I mentioned in the beginning, 60% off the 150K, 70% off the 50 and 150 or 50 and the 100K combine with no expiration date for the foreseeable future. And Topstep will probably announce to us when the sale is going to be over, but right now it's not. Typically, they don't have high discount sales like this one, so definitely if you want to take advantage, feel free to. My link is in the description. And for that link down below, usually it's 20% off for a new user, but right now it's 60 to 70% off for all users. It doesn't matter if you already are existing or you're brand new. My link will go ahead and automatically apply the 60 to 70% off for you. For Apex, it is 90% off the first month, 80% off recurring, and the November 7th with my code right here. Typically, Apex does promote a high discount sale, so it's not far off the tree that they do this stuff. They do it all the time. Usually it's an 80% sale, so 90% off is a really good deal. And if you want to take advantage of that as well, feel free to use my link down below and my code. Usually my code and any other promotion code will be 50% off. So right now, being at 90%, really, really huge discount. So thank you guys so much. If you do decide to sign up and use my affiliate information, I'm very, very grateful. Thank you guys so much. And that is going to be the full completion of this presentation. This video is 45 minutes long. So I do hope that it was helpful in some way, breaking down each of the important segments of the companies and giving my personal pros and cons of each one. As a final thought wrap up, it's really difficult to say which one is better than the other. Obviously, there's some feedback that I would like to, share with the companies if they do watch this, some feedback to be able to, be a little bit more in favor of the trader and be a little bit better. I mean, everyone is going to have their preferences. Everyone's going to have feedback, pros and cons. But I would have to say at the end of the day, because they're obviously both the leaders in the futures prop firm space, they do kind of go neck and neck about which one is number one. Topstep has been around for a long time, since the start of it all, where they're able to show the true changes and adaptability over the past years to be able to get to where they are now, and they're still one of the strongest leaders in the space. Apex came around when all the changes were happening, and because of that, it's easy to quickly say they're the best in the field because they already had the changes applied at once. But remember, they've only been in the space for about 2 years. So in the last 2 years, with all the changes that were happening, of course, they came at a really great time. So that's why it's hard to say which one is better, and that's why it's hard to say that one is worse than the other based on all the information I provided. And matter of fact, I do believe they're really both great, strong companies. I don't think one is worse than the other. I do think that there could be possible changes made, but we'll see in time what that would look like. Because as you know, I think more competition between each of the companies is better opportunity for us traders. So that is going to be my final thoughts on this entire segment. I hope, again, that this was helpful. If you did enjoy this really long content, then feel free to drop a big thumbs up. Make sure you are subscribed. I would really appreciate that. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or anything you want to share, feel free to drop it in the comment section below. Let's try to keep things positive, though, because that's what it's all about in this community. Thank you so much for your time and support. As always, I wish you nothing but the best and most success in everything you do, and I will see you all in the next video.